Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for making time today to join us to take a little bit of a deep dive, little look into storEDGE. Really appreciate everybody making time. I know everybody's busy. We like to put these on ahead of big trade shows like we're heading to in Vegas here in a couple weeks. We know that the booth gets pretty crazy. There's a lot of time, a lot of people, a lot of different meetings. So I wanted to get in front of that and take a quick look at storEDGE. Hopefully give you a little bit of an idea of how the system works. Learn a little bit about storable and some of the other things that we have to offer. So keep in mind today we've got a limited amount of time, so we're just going to be taking just a quick look at some of the features and the functionality. Then of course we'll be able to follow up either at the show, or if you're not going to the show, follow up with one of our sales reps. We can take a much deeper look at how the system works, how you operate, and how our tools might be a good fit for you. As a reminder, we do have the ability for you to ask questions. Either put those in the questions or in the chat. Inside of the GoToWebinar panel. We'll be sure to get those taken care of either as we go or at the end of the presentation. So quickly, just a little bit about myself. My name is Austin Jones. I am the Senior Director of Sales at storable. I've been with the company and been in the industry for a little over 11 years. Have experience in several different areas of the business and around the industry, mostly focused on sales. Also work with some of our large enterprise accounts. Essentially, I manage the new business sales team here at storable. Our primary objective is to work with self-storage operators, whether it's new construction, first time in the industry, all the way up to the REIT level clients. Make sure that we've got an understanding of how people operate. Again, how our tools might be a good fit to help with the business, help generate extra revenue, and create some operational efficiency. I've also got Greg Sane here with me today as well. He's one of our solution architects, very well versed in all of our products, but especially in the storEDGE platform. So Greg will be here to help answer some of the questions and jump in as needed as we go. So to get into it a little bit, this is where I'd like to start. This is our challenge slide, right? This is a look at the self-storage landscape before storable and essentially currently, right? This slide was made several years ago. It represents what the self-storage landscape currently looks like and has looked like in the past. As you can see, this is very fragmented. As a self-storage operator, you have many different things to consider as you're running the business. You've got your management software, you've got your marketing efforts with your website, your lead generation. You've got insurance, both for your tenants and property and casualty. You maybe have kiosks, call centers, accounting software, how you're going to do your tenant communication. All these different things. And traditionally, these tools have been very fragmented, don't communicate that well together, and ultimately create a situation where you've got to go to multiple different vendors for support. You're getting invoices from a bunch of different people. Just makes it very difficult to conduct your business. So as storable was starting to get formed, you can see, storable really came together starting in 2018, 2019, and continues. If you saw a press release last couple of weeks, we did a recent acquisition just this month. So storable came together of the best in the class in the industry. So we have 3 of the top management software programs in storEDGE, SiteLink, and Easy Storage. We offer tenant insurance through StoreSmart and Vader. We have the Sparefoot marketplace. We do property and casualty insurance and payments. But these weren't just companies that we wanted to bring together. It was very strategic in the way that we have thought about how we've formed storable with the best in the class, best in business in each class. For each one of those products and services that we offer. So again, we just added call potential in the last couple of weeks to our product set. Look forward to bringing that in, provide more value and integration, and look for ways that we can help create more automation and efficiency as we go forward. So ultimately, this is the solution to that chaos slide that we showed just a minute ago, right? So storable has now created a platform and an ecosystem that can combine all these different powerful tools into one platform to make it easier to operate, not just for you as the owner operator, but also for the tenant, right? I mean, we're all trying to make sure that we provide a good experience to the people that are actually renting the storage units, give them the tools that they need to be able to manage their account more easily, to make payments more easily, have visibility into units that you might have available, perhaps want to transact with you online or without a person involved at all. So through all of the things that we do, from a technology and a product and a look forward standpoint on our roadmaps, how can we bring these tools even closer together? How can we more tightly integrate our software with our website, or with the insurance product, How can we build payments and access control and those types of things into the platform so you're not having to jump between multiple systems and platforms to understand what's going on with your business, how your tenants are interacting with you, is always going to be at the forefront of the things that we're trying to do here at storable. Just a few more things, as you look at just how we've come together, I've talked about some of the companies that have been involved to bring storable and form storable into what it is today. We have a lot of experience in the industry. Through the acquisition of some of these companies, we've brought a lot of talent on board. From how we do sales to support to development, a lot of history in how things have happened over the past several years in the industry to move forward and look ahead and around the corner at how do we want to operate in the future. What are the things that self-storage is moving toward that we can help facilitate through the technology and the tools that we offer. Ultimately, we want to work with anybody, right? So storEDGE, storable, we can work with operators both, again, first facility entry into the market, all the way up to your larger portfolios and enterprise type of clients. At the end of the day, we view the tools that we offer more as, as an investment rather than an expense. Hopefully these are tools that are going to increase your ROI, going to increase your productivity and your efficiency, deliver that better tenant experience. So you have longer length of stay, can charge higher rents, and so on. And I've kind of already touched on this, but our business is your business, right? That's what we're trying to say here. We want to help you do more with what you have. Your success is our success. That sounds kind of cliche and cheesy a little bit, but it's true. We are deeply ingrained in the self-storage industry, understand operationally how this business works, and take feedback from our clients and the people that we work with that really help shape our roadmap and the things and the tools that we're going to build going forward. So with that, I'm going to jump right into storEDGE overview, which hopefully is what most everyone is here to see. So storEDGE, first of all, is a intuitive, all-in-one, end-to-end facility management software. This is a cloud-based technology, so you can access this from a browser, from any device, so you can log in from anywhere to get access to your information, transact, take payments, do move-ins, and do everything that you need to do to run the day-to-day at the facility. So we're not going to get into a ton of detail on every little nuance of storEDGE. storEDGE is a very deep program. Again, we've got clients with 10 units all the way up to 1,000 facilities that run their operation on top of storEDGE. So we're going to touch on some of the highlights, and then again in follow-up sessions we can get into more detail, answer more questions. But again, don't forget to throw your questions in the chat as we go. So some of the key highlights of storEDGE. Every management software is going to be able to do most of the basic things, right? Be able to do a move-in, do a move-out, take a payment. I want to touch on some of the things where I think storEDGE really stands out and shines compared to some of the other offerings in the market. First thing I'll talk about here is the comprehensive tenant relationship management, and then the one below that kind of goes hand in hand is the embedded tenant communications. I think these are areas where storEDGE really stands out, has a lot of integrated capability. If you think back to that first slide that I showed with all the arrows, and that I call that the chaos slide of all the different tools and things that you need to run a successful business. When storEDGE was originally built and continuing today, one of the main goals was to be able to reduce the amount of third-party integrations and vendors that you needed to run the business, and trying to integrate in as many of those tools and offering as we can. So starting with the CRM system, being in sales myself and managing a sales team, I understand fully how important it is to be able to manage the sales cycle. So in today's self-storage environment, we've got leads and tenants coming at us from all over the place. They might be a walk-in, it might be somebody from your website, it might be a spare foot lead, it might be a referral, it could come from your call center, from a kiosk, right? So there's all these different channels where leads are coming into your funnel. And storEDGE has tools built in. They're going to help you manage that funnel, automate some of the communications. With built-in text messaging, you can do operationally triggered text messages or emails or postcards or certified mail. So all through the sales process or through the delinquency process or just general communication, storEDGE is going to have tools built in that allow you to communicate on time, effectively, and automatically, most importantly, perhaps, with your tenants. So we work with a lot of operators, not everyone and not every market does it make sense, but we work with a lot of people that are moving to a more unmanned model, having staff and managers on site, more strategically. storEDGE gives you the tools to be able to manage that from the top down, to be able to set up when and how you want to communicate with your tenants through email or text, and all that information is then tracked and logged inside the software. So when you look at a tenant record inside of storEDGE, I have the full history of everything that's happened with that tenant. When an invoice has gone out, when I've done a rate increase, when I've sent a text message, when they've sent me a text message, emails. I even get the tracking on those emails to know when those have been delivered or bounced or failed or things like that. So it gives you a full comprehensive look at everything that happens with that tenant, every change you make to a unit, the rates, et cetera, et cetera. It's very important to us inside of storEDGE that all that information is kept in the system, which leads to the third point here about easy to use reporting. So since we're capturing all this information, logging it in our system, we want to make sure that it's easy for you to understand what's going on at the business, pull the reports and the data that you need to understand performance over time. How is a manager performing? How are my leads performing? How am I doing from certain marketing channels, which we just talked about? How many leads am I getting from my website? How many of those convert into reservations or turn into move-ins? How's Fairfoot performing for me? Are those leads turning into reservations and move-ins? What's my occupancy compared to last year, right? All these tools built into the reporting is meant to make it easy for you to understand what's going on. If you have multiple properties and are running a larger portfolio, we have reporting both at the facility level and at the corporate level. At the corporate level within storEDGE, you can also schedule reports. So if you want to receive reports, maybe you're on the accounting team, you want to send your general ledger reports every week, month, or quarter, you can set those up to automatically be sent out to the appropriate people on your team that need that information. So you're not always having to log in and hunt down the information. We make it very easy to find and understand what's going on. Okay, now we're going to move into a couple of the specific features within storEDGE, and again, some of the things that I think are pretty important. So one I wanted to take a look at here is our task list, but also really what we're talking about when we talk about the task list is automation. I've already mentioned this a little bit, and some of the how operations are shifting, especially we saw through COVID. That was really a catalyst into more automation, more unmanned, more touchless operation, I guess, if you will. So storEDGE was already architected in a way to facilitate that type of operation. So within storEDGE, you can automate a lot of the tasks, whether it be like through delinquency. Again, if I want to automatically run auto pays, if I want to automatically create tasks for the manager to complete certain actions, or through delinquency, if I need to have a task item to be able to go cut a lock, or look at an email that came in last night that I haven't interacted with. You can see on the example on the screen here, if you're using a storable website product, for example, you can see if there was an online move-in that happened through your website that you need to give attention to or follow up with the person. Maybe you need to call them to get a piece of information. So as you set up storEDGE, you work with somebody on our team through an implementation and an onboarding process. We try to get the settings and everything set up to the way that you run your business, and the things that you want to automate, you have the opportunity to do so, and the things that you don't, you can have the option to take care of manually. So the task list is here really as a driver for the owner, operator, for the manager on site to be able to see the things that need taken care of right now. Ideally, you're keeping this task list clean, and as things happen, you get that little red dot letting you know that something new has come into the task list that I need to give attention to. So throughout the system, again, lots of opportunity to automate, to make things easier. If you own a property and you don't live right next to it, again, being browser based, I can log into storEDGE, I can understand what's going on at that property in real time, and make sure I'm staying on top of things in a way that I'm not getting behind, and keeping up on everything that needs to be done today, tomorrow, and into the future. The next thing I want to touch on is the call and SMS. And we've got a lot of integrations with how we do tracked phone numbers. So we have experience with tracked phone numbers and how we've used them on our website for a long time. When we built storEDGE, we wanted to integrate that into the platform as well. So you can see on the screen here, storEDGE has two-way text messaging built in. So for every facility that you have with storEDGE, we assign you a local area code tracked phone number. You can use that on your website. We have clients that use additional tracked phone numbers. Maybe you want to have one on the sign out front or on any other marketing channels that you have. You can set up as many numbers as you'd like and associate those to specific facilities. When you do that, it gives you the ability to have that two-way texting. So a tenant can text or call that phone number. It's going to pop up on the screen in the system. So the manager is going to know that they've gotten a text message that's come in. You can see you can hit that reply button and then have a familiar two-way SMS conversation, just like you would on your smartphone. This also supports MMS messaging. So if you wanted to send a picture, or maybe you move or somebody's storing a vehicle with you and want to send a picture of that, send a picture of a driver's license, all those types of things can be accomplished. When a text message or a phone call comes in, again, you can see this on the example on the screen, it's going to look through the database at that facility. So it recognizes if that number is already an existing tenant at your facility. If it is, it's going to pull up their information. You can see here, I know it's Leroy Brown, rent unit 809, currently does not have a balance, right? So just helpful information to try to help the manager, whoever's interacting with this, know who's reaching out. If we did not find a match for this phone number, then there would be a button there that would say add lead, right? So we could jump right into that CRM system that we talked about earlier, so that I can start to capture information about this prospect, keep them inside of my sales funnel, and hopefully have an opportunity to move them into a unit later. Further to just a call and the SMS, when a phone call comes in, you're going to get the same kind of pop-up on the screen. And then when you end that call, you're actually going to get a recording of that call as well. And that recording is going to be logged on the tenant record along with all the other communication that we've been talking about. So again, I've already mentioned you'll have that full history of communication and every other operational interaction that I've had with each tenant that comes through the storEDGE system. On top of that, we also integrate with third-party mail house. So further with that communication, you can send out postcards, you can send out letters, certified mail. All those things can be set up to happen automatically through the storEDGE system so that you don't have to make trips down to the post office. You're not having to stuff envelopes and send out mail. You can set it up to where appropriately all that different type of communication and how you want to interact with your clients can be achieved through the system. The next thing here is going to be e-sign. But again, as we talk about e-sign, really the larger thing I'm talking about here is document management. So there is an e-sign functionality built into storEDGE. So if I need to have somebody sign a document, we can do signatures like you see here on the screen. You can do initials, you can do check boxes, I can do free-form text fields. I have options to make all of those either required or optional fields within my documents. But I think one of the nice things about storEDGE, one is you get to manage all this from the corporate level, which we'll talk about more in just a minute. But you can also set these up in a way that they can be conditional. So based on different situations, we know in self-storage you might have different types of units. Maybe you have a parking addendum. Maybe you have different unit types or tenant types, whether it be a business or military. There's a lot of different documents that we see that people need to use in different situations. So storEDGE can be set up in a way that you can set up conditional documents. So as you make selections during a move-in process, whether it be based on tenant type or unit type or other factors, I can serve up different documents, and they may be e-sign documents or not. It gives you the ability to be very flexible and again, automate the type of documents, the document packet that you're using for each potential tenant that moves into your facility. The other thing that we look at here when we think about e-sign is how familiar it is and the ability for people to do this on their phone or wherever they are. Again, in today's environment, people are doing move-ins, not necessarily standing there right at the counter. So storEDGE has also the ability to send a text message or an email to a link to a document packet, so that if somebody wants to sign those documents remotely, or you need to send them, over the phone, you're talking to somebody, you need to send them a document packet to sign. Maybe they have an addendum to sign that you want to send them a text or an email with a link to that document. You can do that all through storEDGE as well. The next thing I want to talk about is our facility map. And then again, kind of my overarching theme with the map is also just talking about the learning curve. So whether you are a brand new operator just getting into self-storage, or you're considering moving from an existing management software, we've tried to design storEDGE in a way that the learning curve is very low, that it's an easy product to use, to understand, to pick up. So the facility map I use here as an example. You can build out a facility map. You can see here it's all color-coded. It's an interactive map to where I can click on any of these units. Based on the status of that unit, I'm going to have quick links to jump operationally to whatever makes the most sense. So if I click on a green unit here, for example, that's a vacant unit, I'm gonna have options to create a reservation or jump right into a move-in. If I jump into a red unit, that's a delinquent unit, so quick links to make a payment, right? So I think especially for smaller single, couple store type of operators, you can achieve almost 80 to 90% of what you need to do day to day operationally from this map, just as an example. We also have different tools built into storEDGE. Throughout the system, you're going to see a lot of color coding. You're going to see hyperlinks. You're going to see hover cards. You're also going to see quick links to help articles and how-tos and walkthroughs and guides, and our weekly webinars that we put on for training for our clients to be able to come and ask questions to people like Greg, who we have here on the phone. Really, a lot of resources go into trying to maintain our knowledge base for storEDGE. So depending on the page that you're on within the system, if you click on the help button, you're going to get information about that page, about the operational flow that you're currently looking at. The ability to search our entire help library. We have online help tools, walkthroughs and guides, new training materials that we update as we do new releases to the software. And so speaking of that, storEDGE is also a system that is updated every week. So every week we do a release with new code, whether that's releasing new features or a new report, or even if it's just fixing a bug or changing something small. Every week we're doing updates to the system with continuous and constant development, trying to always make the system better. Again, that comes from things that we're trying to do internally, also comes from feedback from our clients, things we learn at the industry. So again, it's important for us as we head into like the SSA show in Vegas here in a couple of weeks. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to talk to people. We're going to understand what's going on in the industry. What are the things that are important to people right now that we can build into the system? Where are we having trouble? Where can we create more help articles? Where can we create new features and things that are going to make that system even easier to use? The next thing I want to talk about, and I'll just touch on this briefly, is some of those integrations that we have with some of the other storable products. I won't get into too much detail here because we are doing another webinar like the one we're doing right now. We're doing one tomorrow. We're going to take a deeper dive into our access control, our website, and our insurance products. But I still wanted to point out here because I think it's still a very good strength of storEDGE. Whether you're using storable for these other products or not, we have integrations with other third parties. But if you're using a storable based product, we have integrations such as you see here, like the access control system provided by storable. If you're using that in conjunction with storEDGE, you can see here that one, you don't need another computer to be on site to run that system. It's all cloud-based, and we can build that directly into the management software itself. So no longer do you have to have a PC running on site just to run your gate software, to go look at your access logs. All that can be housed within the management software. And just like you saw with the text messages and the call and the tracked phone numbers, somebody enters a code at one of your entry points that's going to pop up on the screen, lets you know that in this case, Darius has come on the property. And again, that's going to log in the tenant record. So you have that as part of that history, along with all that other communication, payment history, and communication as well. So a lot of opportunity for integration. Again, I won't get into too much more detail because if you come to the webinar tomorrow, you'll be able to hear the guys go through this integration and the benefits of those in a lot more detail. I think the last thing I'm going to touch on here is just the corporate section. So I could get into a lot of detail here, but I'll refrain. Again, if anybody has follow-up questions, I'm happy to dive into those. But just wanted to reiterate that storEDGE is a fit no matter the size of your operation. So whether you're a small operator or you have a 100 facility portfolio, storEDGE is going to have the tools and the flexibility to give you the control that you need. So within storEDGE at the corporate level, which is what you see here on your screen, is where you can do a lot of the top-down control and management of how that facility is going to operate. So if you need, let's say you have facilities in multiple states and you need different lease agreements, and you'll be able to set that up at the corporate level. You make a change to your lease agreement one time and apply it to the facilities that are appropriate for that change. So you don't have to go in and do those types of things multiple times. Same with like your delinquency schedules. You can set up multiple schedules that you can then apply to certain facilities, whether you group those by state or by investment fund or however it might be. You've got the tools and the flexibility to do that. storEDGE also has a very robust user and role setup. So if you have different requirements within your organization, you want to give different levels of access to different people, that maybe you want them to only see certain aspects of the system at certain properties. Maybe you don't want them to have access to your corporate reporting or some of the other more sensitive data. Very robust setup with unlimited roles and permissions and how you want people to interact with the system. You can also see here if you're using other storable products, which again, you can learn more about tomorrow, you can control a lot of those settings from this centralized location. So when I think about online move-ins, for example, if you're using a storable website in conjunction with storEDGE, you can control your online move-in settings, for example, and how you want your units to display on that website since they're so tightly linked with the storEDGE software system itself. So again, just a lot of control on the settings. These things are always changing as well. Again, as we get feedback from clients and different settings and control, how you want the facility to operate. Obviously, we want to be able to give you those tools to be able to go and manage those things yourself, right? You can always call us for support. You can call or email as often as you like, but we also want to make it intuitive and easy for you to be able to go in and make those changes yourself. So that was the last main feature I wanted to touch on. I guess the last thing that I would leave you with before we try to wrap up here, is that, as I've mentioned, storEDGE is, essentially one of the newer software platform in the industry, and I think that we're really putting a lot of time and effort and resources into the continuous development of this system to make sure that not only does it work right now for the clients we have, but again, it's very important to us as we think about the future. We think about how we're going to utilize things like AI and different pricing techniques. How can we build out more flexibility for the different ways that people are starting to operate their storage facility. So it's very important for us to get the feedback from prospects, from people that are on this call, from our clients, and as we head into places like the trade show in Vegas in a couple weeks to make sure we understand where it is that we need to go. So again, I've been on the team since we wrote the first line of code of storEDGE. I know the system pretty well, but there's still things I find in here that surprise me, that we're doing because we're developing on it quickly. I believe in this system. I've seen it work for a lot of people, have a lot of experience watching this help people be more efficient, help them generate more revenue, and ultimately just run a better, well-oiled business. So with that, I will pause. I'm right close to time, and we'll jump in and see if we have any questions that we can answer.
Yeah, it looks like we have some really good communication inside the chat. So I want to go ahead and say thank you, everyone, for putting those in there. I have a couple of these that I think we can definitely touch on. The first one, when talking about the task list, are we going to implement a kind of facility-wide task on the menu for like pest control, lawn care, or door services? We do have on that task list an add your own task type of button with a follow-up date. So if you do have pest control, if you do need some sort of follow-up that isn't already created, that's standard, you can definitely make your own tasks and notifications and reminders. The next question that I see here is, integrating with storEDGE, integrating with outside insurance, access control, and website. I think we touched a little bit on that, but yes, there are a number of third-party softwares and companies that we integrate when it comes to our access control and our website and insurance. So, yep, absolutely.
I would add to that, Greg, that I didn't mention that we do also have an API available. So, we have plenty of clients that use our API, whether that be for a custom website or if they want to build out their own data warehouse to do any type of reporting with some kind of BI tool or something like that. So, there are several existing third-party integrations, as you mentioned. If you just go to help.storedge.com, that's where the help site is for storEDGE, and you'll be able to find there all the integrations that we do have with other third parties. And then again, also we have API access available as well.
Yep, absolutely. We have plenty of clients that kind of build out their own if we don't have something that's already standing and standard. Let's see. Our next question is, when utilizing storEDGE, what kind of browsers are supported? It's built with Chrome in mind, and that's going to give you the best experience. We found whether it's Mac or PC or Linux, Chrome is going to give you the best experience. I know plenty of facilities that use something else, so there might be others as well. But like I said, we built it with Chrome in mind, and so that would be the best, I would say. And then we have a couple of implementation questions. The first is, can I transfer the phone number I currently use in my ESS software when I switch to storEDGE? So when coming over from another software, be it ESS or non-storable management software, depending on if you own that number, we'd be able to port it over. If not, then there, would be additional steps. But that's definitely something that, we can hammer out a little more specifically to see what's going on, because a lot of the times we can, and we just want to make sure that we're getting it just right for you, whatever your situation might be.
I would add to that, Greg, just it's not directly related, but just switching between softwares, right? We know that's hard, right? I mean, everybody I think that's been on this call that's been through a software change knows that there's some level of pain involved in that, right? We try to make it as painless as we possibly can. We are doing a lot of development work on, for people that are moving between software products within the storable family. So if you're moving from SiteLink to storEDGE or vice versa, or Easy, for example, trying to make that more seamless, be able to capture more data than we have been able to in the past. Specifically, what comes to mind is like the payment information, right? It's pretty common that when you move from one software to another, you lose a lot of that auto pay credit card information. If you're on a storable payment product, for example, now on SiteLink and want to move to storEDGE, for example, as one example, then we'd be able to pull all that auto pay data over seamlessly and automatically, with no charge as well. So continuing to make progress to try to make that easier as we go.
Great, and that actually answered another one of our questions, so I'm really glad that we were able to get there. Let's see. So this is kind of I don't know if we can necessarily, like, in this webinar get to the bottom of this one, but it says, what would be the most economical and effective or suitable software of our three management platforms for a single location facility of 80 units? I think Austin kind of went over that, saying that, regardless of the size, I mean, storEDGE is really built out for, mom and pop, for big facilities as well. So I think it's not necessarily size of the facility. It would be, what you're comfortable with, what your expansion model might be, what you're currently utilizing, what you're integrated with. There's a lot more questions than just, one facility, 80 units, because it very much might depend on a conversation. We'd love to be able to reach out to get a little more information to be able to tell you that.
Yeah, I would say for sure that's definitely part of our sales process is asking the questions, understand operationally, how each facility wants to operate, right? And having three software products, we try to be a good advisor on which product we think is going to be the best fit and which one's going to make the most sense based on somebody's budget and also based on somebody's market. Who are the competitors in that market? What type of market are you in? There's, as Greg said, a lot of different factors that go into understanding which path might make the most sense. Luckily, for us, I think we should have a solution that makes sense regardless of what the answers to those questions are. So yeah, that's one that might take a little bit more discovery.
Yeah, and kind of following on the back of that, there's another question that says, just kind of broadly, what is the difference between storEDGE and Easy Storage Solutions? And they're two different softwares. I mean, that's kind of like, what's the difference between Coke and Mellow Yellow? Like, they're made under the same company, they're both sodas, but they're very different. And so depending on what's best for you, you might need that kind of software, you need this kind of software. So they're just different management tools, different management software.
My short answer to that, Greg, would just be depth of control, particularly at the corporate level, being able to do things across the portfolio and manage those from at a corporate level from the top down. Multi-facility reporting settings, the depth of some of the settings around how things happen operationally are going to be where most of those differences live.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see a couple of questions kind of going around this topic. I see one that says, I don't use a computer for work. Can I run storEDGE on my laptop? And another one says, what other kind of devices? I typically use an Android device for my business. And so storEDGE is built out for desktops and laptops. That being said, when going to something like a tablet, there's not really a lot of efficiency lost. We've tested it and we've made upgrades, like Austin was saying, even recently to just make sure that it works as best as it can. I would say once you start getting to like cell phones, you might start to not click on the right. It may not look the way that you want, or usability might go down. But I would say for like an iPad or like an Android tablet, that works that works great.
Yeah, storEDGE is not a fully fluid responsive design site, right? So as the screen size gets smaller, you're spot on. It does get more difficult the smaller it gets, mainly because storEDGE utilizes some popovers, like when you're taking a payment, for example, or doing a move in, there's a pop-up on the screen. Those get a little bit harder to navigate on the smaller the screen, but tablet size, you're going to be just fine. And you can use it on the phone. Again, it's going to get harder if you're trying to do everything day to day on the phone. You can log in and do things, but some things you're gonna have to scroll left and right, up and down a little bit.
Exactly. Let's see. Then we have a couple of questions about our integration with websites. Does storEDGE allow for two websites, i.e., two facilities under two brands? And I will expand that further to say, like, if they had two different websites with two different domains, two different URLs, yes, absolutely. We can definitely support being able to have kind of everything under one umbrella, but two different websites linking out. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We have a couple of general implementation questions. Again, kind of like a swapping over from site link. How would, very general question, how would storEDGE be an upgrade from SiteLink? And how does the transfer of information work when going from one facility to another? I would say that the biggest upgrade that you're going to have from SiteLink is it is very user-friendly. It's modern, but it's also it's cloud-based, like we said, that you can have access to your business wherever you have a computer or an iPad or a tablet, like being able to be notified immediately of online move-ins and whatnot. You have the integrated SMS messaging that's just right there in the software. You don't need to go like third party. So there are like a number of, I would say, upgrades, quality of life increases definitely between the two. And then as far as the implementation goes, depending on the software, we have an entire team of implementers that make sure that the data's right, that's coming over. Like Austin said, implementation is always, or changing of softwares is always a little tricky. You're not going to bring over the exact same of absolutely everything. But yeah, we have a process and we do it all the time. We want to make sure that we have everything that you need for your business, including, and I see another question here that says, I have a lot of documents and not just leases in my current software. Would I have to recreate all of those from scratch? No. Give us the during implementation, you provide the data, like the tenant data, but also the documents that you have, and we're going to make sure that we can get those transitioned and implemented into storEDGE at the time of implementation. So, yep. Let's see, the next question is, when you have someone that has 2 units but has 2 accounts and you want to combine them into one, can that be done, and how hard is it to do it? It can be done, and it's not hard at all, but it's basically just you move them out of one and go to the other account, move them in. It's not like we have a merge to accounts button, but it's very easy to be able to put a person over. And to speaking to our support team, if you do ever come across something and you're, maybe not sure if I should hit this button, or I think I know how that works, but I'd like clarity, we do have 7-day-a-week software support. So being able to call in, talk to an actual person, be able to have them, walk you through something, that's very easy to do, just to make sure that everything looks right. We also have that help.storedge.com that has has articles, it has videos, it has how-tos. We try to make sure to have as many opportunities to help you with your software. It's definitely not just here's the program, good luck. We definitely take pride in our support team. Let's see. The next question I see is, does this program offer accounting for the property bills? Oh, yeah, Austin?
Well, so if you're asking for the property, like the invoices, out to all the tenants, of course, that's managed. But if this is more talking about like your accounts receivable, or accounts payable rather, for what you need to take care of from an accounting standpoint to run the property, the short answer is no. There's not an accounting module built into storEDGE. Typically, you would use a third party for that, whether it be QuickBooks or Great Plains or whatever it might be. So we have various accounting system exports. So the general ledgers can be exported in different formats, so that you can easily create the ledgers that you need inside of those accounting softwares, whichever one you might use.
And I do see another couple of questions that I can kind of put together. So one's asking, is data stored locally or in the cloud, or can I work offline with no internet? Because storEDGE is stored in the cloud, and you would need internet access to be able to gather that information. So working online or working offline doesn't really work. Oh, and we have an auto pay question. So does auto pay continue to run until there is money on the card and the charge goes through, or does it run once and then not try again? So typically the auto pay at first of the month, or if you're using anniversary billing, whenever the bill is due, the auto pay is going to try to run, and if it is non-sufficient funds, then you would be notified inside storEDGE. That NSF fee would automatically go on to the tenant's ledger, but you'd still have a record of it inside of storEDGE, so that if the tenant comes back and says, oh, I forgot to put money in, there's money in now, you can run it again. You have that list of failed auto pays that you can attempt to try again. But that is, obviously a manual process. It's not going to keep clawing at that credit card that didn't work until it gets something. So it definitely tries that first time.
Greg, I want to be conscious of the time here. We've got a bunch of good questions. I still see some more in here that we haven't gotten to. If you put a question in the chat, we will make sure we follow up. We should be able to see who submitted these questions. We can follow up. I also believe that anybody that attended the webinar is going to receive an email with an opportunity to schedule time if they want to talk to one of the sales reps here further or ask more questions. So be on the lookout for that. We'll also send out some other materials as well to attendees, whether it be our Schoolable links for training, or links to the storage help site, things like that as well. So again, thank you for the time, the attention, and a bunch of good questions. I love seeing this amount of engagement and the questions coming through. So again, appreciate everybody. If you have time, if you haven't already, please sign up for our webinar tomorrow, again, to learn more about some of the other products that Storable offers and how they integrate, and how you can use those together, again, to even be more efficient and run a better business. So with that, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of the day. For those I'll see in Vegas, please stop by the booth and say hi.